Do we need to give Peter something for a cold open?
No, he doesn't deserve it.
He had a stupid cold open.
He didn't deserve it. Let's give him a warm open.
Yeah, what about a warm open?
Yeah.
The Musers, the podcast. Episode 5, Fake Jerry.
Welcome to the Musers, the podcast, episode 5, and a very special episode today. Oh, we should say our names. I'm George Dunham.
I'm Gordon Keith.
And I'm Craig Miller.
That's so hokey.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's a very special edition because we're coming to you from Dallas Cowboys Training Camp in Oxnard, California. Cowboys are one of the few teams that train for the season out of state, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal in Texas. It's a big deal all the way around the country. All 32 teams have now turned this into a big event. And before we talk about Cowboys camp and our history with it, episode 4 of the Musers, the podcast, I was somewhat blown away by all of the reaction we got to it via email, via Twitter. It was a pretty powerful episode, I would call it.
Yeah, there were tears.
Yeah.
We had tears, and we had male bonding.
And it sounds like we had people listening that were tearing up.
I know.
Listening to all that nonsense.
And you can expect it. I mean, we're talking about our dads. We're talking about tension. We're talking about wanting to feel like you're a good person. All the stuff that means something to it. And, I think that guys don't talk about stuff like that very much.
They don't.
So
I know I'm very guilty of that, of not being that type of person.
Male relationships are very, hey, man, what's up? Nothing. What's up with you? Nothing. Meanwhile, both guys have gotten divorced, lost jobs, and done everything. But to them, the summary is nothing.
Right. I knew it'd be a good episode, like I told you guys at the end of the episode, because as we did round-robin Muser interviewing, George and I have a long story and a long history together, but we clicked immediately. And Gordo and I have a long history together, and we clicked immediately. But the two of you didn't immediately click and have had a more interesting relationship, a more interesting journey. And I think the dynamic between the two of you is of the most interest to the listener, because they know George and I are good friends and Gordon and I are good friends, but they're never sure about you two.
I'm never sure about us two.
So
I think, and you're great
either.
friends and you love each other, but I think they really enjoyed hearing that backstory, because that's what they're most curious about when it comes to our show dynamic.
Yeah. My family got a big kick out of it. They had not heard some of those things.
Well, I don't know that I had heard some of those things.
I know. I can't
mean,
believe
like
that
the story about the
never talked about the
deleting
prank
the
call.
audio
Yeah.
and the prank call. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So
Yeah.
you dropped a truth bomb on me.
And doesn't that just prove that guys can go on a car trip together for 2 hours and really not talk about much of anything?
Right.
Meantime,
Talk about everything but something.
our wives may go somewhere with their friends and they'll talk about everything over 2 hours' time. But well, we talked about a lot on episode 4.
And we should thank everybody who has listened to these first 4 episodes, or at least a couple of them. Hopefully you've heard most of them, if not all of them, because we've gotten great feedback. We really appreciate all of our radio show listeners also joining us on the podcast side. As we've said, this podcast is a companion piece to the radio show, and the feedback has been really, really great, and some really thoughtful emails and text messages. I've had friends and family. Everyone seems to really enjoy the slightly different feel to the podcast compared to the radio show.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt there's a different feel to training camp now from when we first started going to training camp with the Cowboys at one of our jobs in Dallas radio. The first training camp I went to with the Cowboys was 1988, proving I'm a dinosaur. It was in Thousand Oaks, California, and there were maybe 8 media members covering camp. There were the TV guys, a couple of writers, and I was, I think, the only radio guy there because we were the flagship station of the Cowboys. And now are there, 200 media members probably each year that are given credentials to cover a Cowboys camp. And I told you on a previous episode I was given a huge break in 1988. Got hired by KRLD Radio in Dallas by Brad Sham, who is still the voice of the Dallas Cowboys. And after 2 weeks on the job, my next assignment was to go with the Cowboys to Thousand Oaks. 23 years old, just thinking, growing up a longtime Cowboys fan. Tom Landry was the coach. Tex Schramm was the general manager. We didn't know, but this is going to be the last year of the original Gil Brandt, Tex Schramm, Tom Landry Cowboys, because after the 88 season, Jerry Jones bought the team in February, and everything changed. But that training camp, I got to talk to Tom Landry, talk to Tex Schramm about the Roger Ruzick training camp holdout. He was the kicker and was holding out of camp. Back then, players used to use training camp to get in shape for the season, and there were over 100 players in camp. The Cowboys had more players in camp than any other team in the NFL. And the first 2 weeks, it was basically all rookies. And they had tons of rookies, and they cut guys every day. And it was magical to me because I was new to it, never been to a training camp before, and I'm getting to talk to legends like Roger Staubach and Danny White.
Yes.
Turned out to be Danny's final year in the NFL. But I know you guys think that training camp can be very monotonous, and it can. But to this day, when I walk out and watch a practice, it's still very magical to me. The start of football season and just this whole thing and what it's become is still really cool to me.
Well, I like the spectacle of it. I mean, I like all the glitz and glamour of it, but I don't know any of those people you just mentioned by name. Who's Roger Starbuck?
He started a coffee company.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's
okay.
a billionaire.
Yeah.
I've always liked training camp. The practice sessions get a little monotonous to me to watch,
Sure.
but I like the idea of training camp. I like going to Cowboys camp. I used to like it when we went to Rangers spring training. We went to Stars training camp in Vail, Colorado one year, and I like that because to me, camp is the calm before the storm, and everybody feels good about the season. No matter how bad your team is, everybody feels good about the season.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of renewal. There's a sense of anticipation and optimism at any training camp, and it's this sport starting up again. It's a rebirth every year. So when you go to Surprise, Arizona, or wherever the other teams are training, or here in Oxnard, there's that sense of beginning, and I think that's always cool.
We'll talk a lot about Jerry Jones on this particular episode, and he really did change everything with training camp for the Cowboys, and I'm going to give him credit for changing it for all of the NFL. It's now a spectacle league-wide, and it didn't used to be this way, and I think it started what turned out to be your first training camp, Craig, was 1990. That's when the Cowboys moved out of Thousand Oaks, and they moved training camp to Austin. Jimmy Johnson, the coach at the time, liked the heat element of it, and Jerry liked the element of, what if we had training camp in Texas? It would be a fan spectacle. And you remember from the very first practice, St. Edward's University, it was packed.
Yes.
And you went from 20 people at a training camp practice to, what do you think, 5,000?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, wait, back up for a second and educate this newbie. Why were the Dallas Cowboys training in Thousand Oaks? What's the idea there? And was that the NFL tradition that a team would train in several states away?
Some would, and I think for the Cowboys it was cooler temperatures. And even though Thousand Oaks is not quite as cool as where they practice now in Oxnard, and I think it was part of the marketing of Tex Schramm, the GM and president of the time.
Who was kind of a Jerry Jones of his era.
Yes, he was
an innovator.
Very influential and yes, an innovator. And because of that, it helped spread that whole
America's team
narrative
business.
of America's team.
Yeah, very few teams to this day train away from their home state. But the Cowboys, even before they went to Thousand Oaks, went to Minnesota, Oregon, Wisconsin. They had held training camp, I think always looking for cooler temperatures, and then landed in California. And I think once they landed out here, they realized, wow, we're only a few minutes away from L.A. and Hollywood, and we're getting a lot of attention out here, and that's good for the brand. And that's a big reason why Jerry loves it out here.
And I just remember being shocked when we started going to those practices in Austin. We shouldn't have been, because it was in Texas and not too far from Dallas, and the Cowboys dominate the conversation to this day in the Lone Star State. But I think even Jerry was surprised by it, and then that's when, with each passing year, you would see more bleachers, more tents, more corporate tents, more corporate sponsors, to where we are today. And as we do this podcast from Oxnard, California, they've basically built a temporary stadium around 2 practice fields in the middle of nowhere next to a hotel in Oxnard, California.
It's almost a little city.
Yeah.
It's the Cowboys cancer that metastasizes. It just takes over a whole town, and you get more temporary bleachers and VIP tents thrown up every year. You just see it grow and grow little by little till now it's taken up this whole area of town.
Gordo, you got to experience Austin training camp around
Unfortunately.
94, 95 when the ticket, our radio station in Dallas, first went on the air. But when George and I were at our previous job, as he mentioned, at KRLD Radio in Dallas, my first assignment was they said, you're going to go to Austin. I was the low guy in the totem pole, so I had to chase tape, which meant I had to go interview players all the time and send tape back for our drive time shows. So my first assignment was to go to Austin, and they gave me a room at the Doubletree Hotel there for 5 weeks.
That is unbelievable to me. And
And
you
I-
probably thought it was unbelievable in the good sense.
I thought I had died and gone to heaven.
Oh, yeah.
You're putting me in the great town of Austin, which back in 1990 was so great,
Yeah.
for 5 weeks in a hotel room, and I don't have to pay for it, and all I got to do is cover football. I thought it was the greatest assignment of my life. And back then, the media used to go out a lot. And as I'll tell you here in a little bit, sometimes out with the players, which has changed quite a bit.
Sometimes out with unnamed owners.
Yes, sometimes out with the owners, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But the media used to be very tight-knit. And maybe it's because it wasn't as many, although when they went to Austin, the numbers certainly expanded with all the Texas media that would show up. But one story I remember, an unnamed local TV sportscaster was at a topless establishment. No,
No.
it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one.
What is that, a bird?
But he was there with one of his cameramen.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a young woman on stage dancing for them. And the young woman on stage turned around and showed this particular sportscaster her rear end. And then she bent over and stared back at him between her legs and said at that moment, "Hey, my dad watches you."
Oh, gosh.
Well, and even going back to Thousand Oaks, I don't remember topless establishments, but there was a place called the Iron Horse, and every night, not just 1 or 2 nights a week, I was there for the first 2 weeks and only learned about this like week 2, but every night, Tex Schramm, the general manager and president of the Cowboys, would hold court with the 8 members of the media who were there. Mm-hmm. And they'd go to the Iron Horse every night and close it down. It's a long-time Cowboys tradition.
Okay, so in circumstances like that, is it known that this is an off-the-record conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Tex Schramm would have that agreement
Yes.
with the reporters.
And they would talk a lot of football, and there was no, the writers weren't quoting him or anything like that, but it was great context for how he felt. And Tex would go off on people. I remember him talking about a particular, I guess it doesn't matter now. He was talking about Steve Pelleur.
Mm-hmm. Former Cowboys quarterback.
And he was frustrated because he wasn't Roger and he wasn't Danny, but they were forced to play him because Danny was late in his career, and Danny White he had a terrible wrist injury in 1986, and he never really overcame that. And I remember Tex saying late one night, he goes, "We have no chance with this effing idiot."
Did he say the word, though?
Yes, he did, and he pretty much.
You can say it here. It's a podcast, George.
He pretty much predicted the 1988 season. He said, "We have no chance," and he was right. They went 3-13. The team got sold, and Tom Landry got fired, and that was the end of the story for the original Cowboy 3.
Social media killed all of that, because in the early 90s in Austin, the exact same thing would happen with Jimmy Johnson. And after every practice, or most practices, he would go across the street from St. Edwards, and there was this Mexican restaurant. I think it was called El Matador.
Yes.
And that's where, like, if practice ended at 4, Jimmy would be over there about 5 or 5:30, and the media would go over there, and in the back room there'd be a big table. And I used to go over there all the time, and there'd be 10 media members, 15 media members sitting at a table with Jimmy, who'd be drinking beer and eating chips and a burrito. And he was just holding court, just like Tex used to, and he was talking no holds barred about players, coaches on his staff, who he liked, who pissed him off that day, who upset him. Nobody was taking notes. Nobody ever said, the next day went on their radio show or TV show or wrote about what Jimmy said. It was just, and Jimmy could be open like that because he knew no one was going to go talk about it. No one was rolling tape on it. No one was posting on Twitter about it. And that would never happen today.
I think you're right, yeah.
Jimmy would never, ever, ever do that today, because they would know that the second they said something about a player or one of their assistants, it would be on Twitter a second later and go viral, and he'd have a big headache.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
No, I
how
think
things
that's
have
really
changed?
It's changed so much, and I wonder if it's better now. Is it better that there's no, there's just, you got to be transparent all the time, or is there some value to the off the record?
There's still off the record that exists, but I think those who, if you're in the NFL, you have to be really careful about it, because if you're not, then and you're holding court at a bar, all of a sudden that may be on Twitter that night or Instagram.
Yeah,
or something.
and plus everybody carries around personal spy devices.
Yeah.
With phones, you can roll tape, roll video.
Or if you're at a Coldplay concert or something
right,
like that.
Yeah. How has Jerry never been busted at a Coldplay concert?
Well, and it also would help the reporter inform their opinion. So you heard Tex Schramm say that about Steve Pelleur, so maybe if you're on with Brad Sham the next day, you had insight to what the Cowboys really felt about their quarterback without actually quoting Tex Schramm.
Right.
But it helped you sound like a more knowledgeable reporter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, because you're using off-the-record material and you're not attributing it, so you're not violating any code of confidence. But you do have this insight that I think it's a lot harder to get now, because you don't have those informal gatherings and you're not really hearing Jimmy talk about what he feels about that offensive lineman. So you're having to guess a little more now about how he feels?
Yeah, and I still think those conversations exist. I just think those, in this case, an NFL team, I think they are very guarded about it, and much more guarded than they were 20, 30 years ago. And the Cowboys are such an interesting study. We talk about them a lot in Dallas, Fort Worth. But isn't it amazing when we watch national networks, sports networks, we're at ESPN daily sports conversation shows be without the Cowboys. Even in the off season, it seems like they are the lead story. Mm-hmm. What do you really think about Dak Prescott? And these dudes have not won anything.
I don't get it.
In 30 years.
How can they still be America's team? You know what I'm saying? Why are they still so popular?
It's just
it's a grandfathered in brand.
Yes, it's like the Yankees. They had a dry spell from the 70s to the 90s, and yet in the 80s they were always in the baseball conversation because of Steinbrenner. Mm-hmm. George Steinbrenner was bigger than life, just like Jerry is. Notre Dame has always been a big brand and still is, even though they're not the most successful college football program of the last 30 years.
They haven't won a title since 1988, but they still are the only college football team with their own TV network deal.
Yeah. And it's
that brand. When the brand gets so big,
okay, but
it takes a lot to bring it down.
But will the Patriots be a brand even if they have 30 years of bad luck and horrible teams?
I don't think so, because they weren't America's team. The Cowboys got to that top of the mountain first and claimed it, and they have 50, 60 years of history entrenched, where the Cowboys were America's team and the Patriots were a joke for a long time. And the Cowboys had a 30-year head start on being America's team over the Patriots. And then the Patriots got great for 20 years, and now they may be bad for 20 years. They just don't have that history that the Cowboys have. When you are the Yankees and you plant that flag at the top of the mountain first, we are the baseball franchise of record. Or you're the Celtics or Lakers and you plant that flag, or the Cowboys in this case, it's hard to unseat that team.
Okay, but George, you mentioned something that may be an X factor in all this. You mentioned the Yankees had Steinbrenner. Mm-hmm. Is there something to having a made-for-TV villain / controversial character as your leader that keeps you in a national conversation more than if you had the generic behind-the-scenes corporate owner?
Absolutely, and he's very good at it. I do wonder in some pockets of this country if Jerry is almost a laughingstock, but he's still talked about, and he's still brought up as, hey, can you believe what he said? And if Jerry is not at the top of this organization, I wonder if it will continue, because culturally, everyone's about to age out of legendary cowboy stories. Mm-hmm. You know, the generation kids in their 20s and 30s, they don't remember the Cowboys being great. They have seen this futility now for 3 decades.
You know what I think would have always been a great idea? And I'm actually surprised that Jerry and family have not done this, because they are the most Hollywood-ready NFL family there is. Why have they not done a reality show?
Well,
boy, that's a good question.
Because
that's a great question.
If they certainly seem to have thick skin, because the stuff that they tolerate, the slings and arrows they tolerate through the media are unbelievable. They have all the drama that's ready-made for TV with Jerry's lawsuits and everything. If they had been filming the past 6 years of the Jones family, then it would have been the #1 reality show on television. And they already show that they make compelling content. You know, those cheerleader shows have done extremely well for the Cowboys. Have been great for them. And Jerry could have had his own Jones family show.
Well, you watch the numbers this fall when the Netflix documentary on the Cowboys comes out. And I think to a lot of us who are close to it, it's going to be frustrating, because it's the same old thing we hear from Jerry about, oh, you know, we're doing this and we're doing that, and yet no results on the field. And he'll talk about the good old days of the 90s, which no one remembers. But you watch those numbers when Netflix does that this fall, they'll be huge.
Yeah.
And there will be some candid moments where can you believe he said that to his daughter, or to a client, or to a fan, or and this is basically the reality show that we're going to see. And hey, I watched the season 2 of the Cowboy of America's Sweethearts. That show's huge.
Yeah.
And Tim Calishaw, a writer in Dallas, had a great line that show was so big that fans of the Cowboys right now know cheerleader rookies better than they do this year's draft class. And he may be right about that.
Well, it's very smart that they do that show. I've watched the 2nd season. It's great. I love that. I love seeing that, and they should absolutely make that more of a franchise, do even more of those shows. And I wish it was a little bit more uncontrolled. I get the feeling like that they keep those cheerleaders pretty locked down.
Yeah.
They need more drama. They need more drama in that show.
And I don't think Jerry minds it if there's a little bit of drama stirred up.
Well, it's the weird dual nature of the Jones family. I think that they hate the drama and then they also love it. I can't quite figure them out.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they had imagine the reality show if they had followed the whole lawsuit, Jerry Jones paternity lawsuit, and it was on a reality show. And Jones having to deal with it, and them showing Jerry having to go in and order the yacht for Gene. And I mean, it would have been unbelievable.
Do they not do a reality show because they feel like they live it every day, that the microscope is on them every day? They're always talked about, as George said, on ESPN every day, on the ticket every day, local TV, that they feel like they're living it, and they have for 35, 40 years.
I'm sure part of them does feel that way. But I'm saying they need to embrace the dirty laundry.
Yeah, maybe their reality show is just the day-to-day. Think how many interviews Jerry does in the course of a week.
Yeah.
A man who's never learned to talk does more interviews than most humans.
It is amazing, isn't it? So when you listen to him
Makes
talk,
sense.
This is a guy who has transformed the NFL from a financial standpoint. I give him full credit on that, from how you maximize training camp to corporate sponsorships to TV deals. He was the one that said, let's go talk to Fox. That sounded like an absurd idea back in the 1990s. It turned out to be just a boom for the NFL. All the real estate deals, oil and gas, catering company. Can we all agree that he is a business genius?
Yes.
He's got to be.
Sure.
But when you hear him talk,
I know.
How do those two things add up?
It doesn't make sense. He rarely finishes a sentence well.
Are people okay with it because he's the Arkansas hillbilly? That's just his persona, and you're not expecting that person to sound like James Bond?
Oh, yeah. I think that is what saves him, is he's got that charisma and charm of the bumbling Arkansas, I'm about to say idiot, but no, I'll go ahead and say it.
He's not an idiot.
He's not an idiot at all, but
no.
to hear him talk it's cartoonish.
Yeah.
That's a much better term than idiot in this case. And when you become cartoonish, you can get away with anything.
Yeah.
And I remember, now in the early days, from that very first press conference, and I was there that night that he fired Tom Landry. I was about 15 feet away from Jerry Jones. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. And I remember at the time thinking, this guy makes absolutely no sense. And he got barbecued for the first couple of years in Dallas. And then they had that unbelievable run where they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. So that gave him credibility.
Were some people predicting that he wouldn't last? Like after he came out of the gate and it had people
I don't know
just
about
torching
last,
him?
but it wouldn't work. Oh, this is never going to work. This
Yeah.
guy has no idea what he's doing. Hiring a college coach.
Yeah.
The Jimmy Johnson thing was seen as very controversial.
Rotating defensive linemen, that's college
Yeah,
stuff.
you can't do that in the NFL. But and that gave him credibility there. He doesn't have a lot of football credibility now, but he has business credibility, and isn't he literally grandfathered in? Because now don't we just see him as it's just, grandpa up there, and he's been around forever, and he starts telling these – he gets choked up. He gets choked up all the time when he talks about it, and it's just like an old guy kind of talking about his life, and I think that's endearing to a lot of people.
Yeah. I get suckered in when he gets choked up.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear his stories, and of course I love stories of men who get reflective as they get older, and what he's learned is particularly men who have lived as brashly as Jerry has. To look back over his life, I would really love to hear. I mean, I could listen to a whole hour of him talking about the regrets that he has in his life, if he's being honest and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. When he made the appearance on Landman, is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
It was seen as a great acting job, but I think Jerry just channeled what he goes through as a businessman and in a family business, and he did a great job because that is acting. It's not easy to do, but it was great, and I think it was, again, another part of the reality show that he lives every day. And he jumps right into a very popular show, and he does that, and he does it well.
I know. It was great. It was kind of moving
Yeah.
to talk about it. The whole thing is he's such an enigma to me because to behave as unfamily man-like as he has at times, and then to have a family that is still that close to him and that he works with, and the tightness of that family. And we've talked about it before here. It's just an amazing story.
Yes.
That is full of endless frustration, too, for the regular Cowboy fan who sees Jerry as both the architect and the impediment to the greatness of the Cowboys.
Outside of Jerry, I would say in Dallas-Fort Worth, the person that has done more to paint and construct his image is you, Gordon, with your impersonation of Jerry.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt that has in the mind of Cowboys fans who also listen to our radio station in Dallas, that is how they see Jerry, is through your impersonation of him.
Yeah, it's because it's a caricature of him. He's already a caricature, has a life that's like a caricature, and then started doing that voice, and I can't even remember exactly how it started. I'm pretty sure it started on this show. Mm-hmm. You guys asked me if I could do a Jerry Jones.
Back in year 1 or 2,
Yeah.
the 90s.
And I started off with that ridiculous voice, which does not sound like him. That talking down like this and everything, doing that, blah, blah, positivity. And yeah, because he gave us so much material, we could do him often. And then we're doing him so often, and then he just becomes the mainstay character. In a lot of ways, I guess Jerry Jones has given me a career.
It's your signature character.
It is. And people
no doubt.
absolutely love it, including us. And I think in the early years when you were impersonating him, I think there was confusion with him as exactly who you were and which one of us did the voice.
Yeah.
I remember when I got hired to do public address, he told me, he said, and I don't want to hear my voice, my fake voice coming over them speakers out there.
Yeah.
And I think that was his way of saying or asking, do you do the fake Jones? And I didn't, but do you remember when he first figured out, okay, that's the guy who impersonates me?
I don't know when he first figured it out. I mean, I've had to. It's been reintroduced to him a few times.
Yeah.
It'd be the PR director, Rich at the time. Would mention to Jerry, "This is the guy that does your fake voice," and then Jerry would always light up and shake my hand, and he was very thrilled, I guess, in some way that because he hears about it enough that he's meeting the guy who imitates him. Like I think he feels it some way flattering.
Isn't that interesting?
Which, if you listen to the content, it's the least flattering stuff you could possibly do about another human.
But I know not only does it play well with the listening audience and with us, but I know for a fact, at least back in the day, with the Cowboys organization, I once had 2 scouts come up to me, put their arms around me and say, when he talked, well, this is actually another impersonation you were doing of Chan Gailey at the time.
Yeah.
Former coach.
When he was the head coach of the Cowboys, and your fake character said that he painted the dog's toenails red and moved the family to Alabama.
Yeah, I portrayed him real simple and real country-like.
And I know they quoted several other fake Jerry comments to me. It plays well in the building a long way away from Jerry's office.
They make sure they're way down the hall with the door shut when they listen to it.
They're listening to it, yeah. But I think it's played well for them, too.
I remember one time when we were talking to Jerry about the fake Jerry, and he was with somebody else, I can't remember, and he said, "Oh, yeah, these are the guys that do the fake Jerry voice on their show." And then he turned to one of his buddies and hit him and goes, "And they really give it to Jerry Jr., too." Like, Jerry thought that was funny.
Yeah, that his son was being skewered. Which is great. That I can't believe that so he's aware of some of the content that's on there.
Yeah.
But once again, the thick skin of Jerry, he just lets it roll off of him.
Because you're talking about him, and you're talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah, but George, we're talking about him so personally and so derogatorily.
I know.
Derogatorily.
So as the new show hits Netflix, we were informed by you, Gordon,
Yes, sir.
that all of a sudden you're going to be on the Cartoon Network impersonating Jerry.
So, yeah, Hollywood came a-calling for me. And I've told a little bit of this story before, but I started getting these emails from a woman who claimed she was a Hollywood casting agent. And I'm really bad about returning emails and going through it. I mean, I have emails stacked up from about 15 years of stuff I'm getting around to responding to. So I see it, and I didn't respond, and I saw it. She sent a follow-up, don't respond, third one, fourth one. I just say, okay, I'll get to it. So time goes on, and eventually my our boss from the radio station in Dallas, he says, hey, this woman called me up. She's a casting director for Warner Brothers in L.A., and they're trying to get a hold of you, and you won't respond to their emails. She asked if I could get a hold of you.
Welcome to our world.
So I felt horrible, of course, and I responded to her and everything, and she says, yeah, there's this new show, and it has Jerry Jones in it, and one of the creators has been asking to want you to read for it, to come in and read for this part of Jerry Jones. And so I said, yeah, that sounds good to me, and she set it up. We had this big Zoom call, and I was pretty intimidated by this because it's like, I've never done anything like that before in my life. I'm going to read for a part on a national show as an
in that
actor,
ridiculous voice.
In that ridiculous voice, and so when it comes time for the Zoom call, there's all those people in the room, and I have to do the Jerry voice, and they were great and nice, and lo and behold, I get the follow-up after that meeting that, you got the deal. Where do we send the contract to? What's your agent's name? And I said, what agent?
What agent?
I need to do agent? I don't have agent. So I get this I have a Hollywood Reporter story here.
Okay.
Very official.
Mm-hmm.
Headline, Adult Swim, which is what this cartoon is going to be on, the Adult Swim block of programming. Adult Swim tackles Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones in latest series. Keeping Up with the Joneses will follow a family trying to fit in with their wealthy Dallas neighbors. Okay, so that's the headline.
Okay.
So wait till you hear how much I mention in here. Like, it's pretty impressive. Adult Swim's newest series will brush up against the world of the NFL, or at least its most famous team owner. The cable network has ordered a series called Keeping Up with the Joneses from creator Hugh Davidson, which is the guy that tracked me down and found me. He used to live in Texas, big Spurs fan. Rachel Ramrez, Larry Dorff. Those are the three creators and producers. The 10-episode half-hour show will chronicle the Newberry family of Dallas as they try to keep up with their staggeringly wealthy neighbors, including Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who lives next door. The animated version of Jones, get ready, will be a character in the series, though voiced by an actor, not Jones himself.
An actor?
So that's pretty big.
That's it?
Yes,
I identify it
national.
as
A Hollywood Reporter can't specifically identify you.
When you're such a non-quantity like I am, you just reference as an actor.
Well, you know what?
But that's an upgrade for me because I'm not even an actor.
After the show comes out, then they'll know your name. They'll all know your name.
They'll all know my name then. So, yeah, it's going to be on, and I think I still need to get the date on this.
And by the way, every time I take a swim through Adult Swim,
I got some
those
funny
things
stuff.
Are funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
really
is the same.
funny.
It's the same group of people who did the Mike Tyson mysteries. For anyone who saw that, which was funny because Mike Tyson himself played himself in that cartoon series, which was like a very vulgar Scooby-Doo takeoff. Mike Tyson cussing, but that's going to be huge. I mean, like, that was one of my childhood dreams, was to be a cartoon voice person.
Mel Blanc.
Yeah.
So you've recorded all of these?
They're all in the can. We
Okay.
did 10 episodes, and I would go in the studio. I probably went in like 3 or 4 times, and we record multiple episodes at a time.
In Dallas or in LA?
In Dallas. So I would go in Dallas, and they'd be on like a iPad, FaceTiming from LA.
Would you get reaction? Would people laugh when you deliver a line, or is it just very sterile?
Well, yeah, no. Afterwards, the creators who were Hugh and Larry and Rachel, they were all on there, and they would laugh afterward. I would do a line, after I'd finished the recording of it,
Okay.
and everything, or they would give me just direction of, don't do it a little bit less than that, or
Okay. So will Jerry watch this?
Good question.
I think so. I mean, it's a national cartoon that involves him. Someone's going to show him the clips of it and everything.
Yeah.
And so that gives me even more ammo to go up and shake hands with Jerry and say, hey, I'm the guy who does you on national TV now.
So did you use the fake Jerry voice that you use on the radio show, or did you use the toned down one?
I used the one that we've done for forever, the one that doesn't sound like him.
Show us illustrate
So-
the differences.
So real Jerry, he talks a little bit more like a real human. I'm actually not doing it too well right now, but we doing good.
Yeah.
He talks more like that.
Yeah.
But the really, really fake one is all this kind of stuff.
It's way down in here and much more rough.
God, it tears my
no.
throat
and that
up.
is funnier. That is
Yeah.
the one you should have used.
Yeah, and it's much more cartoony. And as I told you guys before, I had recorded like 3 episodes in the can when it dawned on me that I forgot to tell the creators, hey, there's another option. I do have a Jerry that I can do more accurately. When I listen to a reference tape of him and then immediately do it, I can get his voice pretty close. They're like, no, we like what you're doing here.
Okay.
So, for better or for worse, that version of fake Jerry's voice has become canon.
Do you get more people coming up to you when they talk about your voices, asking about or commenting on the fake Jerry compared to any other voice
Yeah,
you do?
absolutely. Yeah.
It's got to be, all right?
Yeah.
And think about that. So the Cowboys and Jerry are talked about nationwide, all the networks, the Fox pregame show on a Sunday. What's their lead story? Even if the Cowboys are 2-5, well, trouble in Dallas is Dak on the hot seat or whoever the coach happens to be. That was the Mike McCarthy question that got asked for 2 years before we got our answer after the season. So now in the platform of the Cartoon Network, even the Cowboys are going to be
How many
talked
other
about.
NFL owners are portrayed on the
Zero.
Cartoon Network?
Average NFL fan, how many NFL owners can you name? Outside of Jerry, how many can they name?
In fact, in the history of sports, you mentioned Steinbrenner earlier, and he was referenced in pop culture on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Is it Steinbrenner and Jerry? Are they the only owners that are referenced in pop culture ever? Pro sports owners?
I can't
they're
think of another.
They're
Yeah, Crafty made it into the vernacular there for a while.
Well,
Your
especially
vernacular.
yours. You never knew who he was until
Robert
he
Kraft getting a rub and tug.
Jerry
Until he got
Buss,
busted.
Robert Kraft, Al Davis. There have been some
Al
other
Davis,
very
maybe.
notable, but I don't know that those even crossed over into pop culture the way Jerry and Steinbrenner did.
Well,
and
Mark
have.
Cuban. I mean, Dallas has another
Yeah.
nationally known owner, and Mark Cuban, because he has so many other business ventures.
Yeah.
Shark Tank did wonders for Mark Cuban.
It did. But look at Cuban, and I think there were other reasons why he got out of ownership. But he didn't last as long as Jerry. Jerry's been doing this since 1989, and he's a lot older than Cuban. And he's not slowing down. He's just as active now as he was 35 years ago.
He just cries more. Gets choked up more.
How much longer do you think he'll do it? How much longer do you think he will be the visible, out in front owner of the Cowboys?
He's 82? How old is
He'll
he?
be 82 in October, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right? I think he's
Boy, I'll look
81
that up.
now. He's either turning 82 or 83.
Yeah.
Well, his biological clock would say that he's not going to do this any more than about 5 to 7 more years. I can't see him doing this when he's
Yeah.
90. I don't think there's any way he's doing it when he's 90.
How young is the hobo heart he's on right now?
This is Hobo Heart number 4, so
You don't know that he has a hobo heart.
a few more years.
When you're that rich and famous, you have a stable of hobos that give you their organs when you need them.
Before he leaves this plane, will he ever lift the Lombardi Trophy again?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's
I don't
going
think
to.
so.
Even though NFL odds would say that he would.
But he continues to defy NFL odds every year.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. But in training camp, you always think, well, maybe. What
So-
if?
So I should try to approach him this training camp and tell him, break the news to him. I'm going to break the news to him. I'm going to say, hey, look, I just want you to know that there's a cartoon of you that's about to come out nationally, and I have wronged you, and I just want to apologize for what you're about to see, and then just walk away and see if he has any reaction.
You know what? You should go up to him. Maybe not say that, but you should inform him that you're doing his voice on a national cartoon. See what his reaction would be.
It will be of utter confusion. That's what his reaction will be. When I tell him, hey, I'm going to be doing a cartoon you on Adult Swim, and then walk away, you think he's going to understand any part of that?
No. Outside of the fact that I was just about to ask the question, does he already know? And I think my answer is yes.
Really?
I bet somebody has told him.
You think so?
And he goes through, I mean, I wonder this. Do you think Jerry still goes through the physical paper, or do you think he reads online? Because he always used to do that. And the Dallas Morning News did a story on this a few months back. So
they did?
Yes. I bet he has seen it.
Did I know that?
I read it to you about a
did?
month ago.
The PR department.
I don't listen to what you say.
With the Cowboys forever used to, because I don't know if Jerry went through the paper, but they used to photocopy all of the stories of the day from all the different papers, staple it together, give it to Jerry.
Like a presidential briefing?
Like a briefing, and that's what he would go through every day. And you know what? He's in his 80s. They may still do that. That may be his preferred way of digesting the news of the day. So I'm sure they would have put that in there. Now, whether he read it, whether he goes through and reads every page every day, I don't know.
I don't know that he can read.
He can, and he listens, and he watches. Because he loves
him.
Reveling in it. Yes, he loves him some him.
He loves the
He's
attention,
a lot like
for
T.O.,
sure.
for sure. All right, well, was that not fun?
And this was cool because it was our first podcast broadcast remotely. We're recording this in California. It's always fun to come out here. It's our first road podcast.
Yeah, we've already taken the podcast on the road, which is great. And there's no better place to do it than out here in La La Land, as I like to call this area of California, which, has been pretty awesome. Not only weather-wise, obviously, but my weird friendship with Dak Shepard and Kristen Bell.
You're going to see them this trip?
That's happened several times here at training camp. I used to always...
There's something weird going on there.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Well, that sounds like an accusation. No, I mean, it was one time when we were sitting probably just about 10 feet from where we are right now, where I got a text from Dax saying, you're in California, you've got to come see us. It may have been the first time I actually got together with them in person outside of, movie junkets or something like that. And he invited me. He said, hey, we're having a surprise. We're having a pool party, birthday party for Kristen Bell, his wife, and you need to come by and be our special guest.
Did you show up and cut off?
I was her surprise guest, and I showed up, and she was sweet. She came running, jumped in my arms and everything, and I remember Kristen Bell wrapped around me thinking, what is my life again? I don't understand where I am or what's happening right now.
That's something.
Yeah, and that was from right here. I left right here from this broadcast booth to go there to their house.
Certainly, we can get one or both of them on our new podcast.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd love for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of hers. I love him, too, from Idiocracy. But I've seen more of her.
Yeah.
And she's
well,
great.
he's huge in the podcast world. His career has really gone more podcast than even acting now. I mean, his Armchair Expert podcast is always in the top. And I was one of his first guests in his first season of Armchair Expert.
Does he know that there's the Musers, the podcast, or is he like Jerry and has no idea?
Ooh, interesting. I haven't mentioned it to him. So unless he reads the trades and saw the information about the Musers, the podcast there, he doesn't know about it.
I love coming out to California because it's so different from Dallas-Fort Worth, especially this time of year. You come out here and
it's like mixing a little strange.
A constant 75 degrees and an ocean breeze and mountains and water. I do remember talking to somebody who was running a shop out here, and she was from Texas, and she had asked, what are you doing out here? I said, work, covering the Cowboys on training camp. Oh, I grew up in Texas. I said, well, how do you like living out here? She said, it's great. except every day is exactly the same. And I do miss 100 degrees and 32 degrees and seasons and leaves falling. And she goes,
that's a good one.
We never get any of that because every day is perfect, but it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I guess that would get to you like anything, but I'd like to try it at some point. Yeah, bore me with perfect weather.
Bore me with perfection. Let's do it.
Did you think that maybe someday you would wind up in California, Gordo, as being
yes, I really
an aspiring actor now that you're identified as an actor?
I remember this was probably year, I don't know, 6 of the radio station, down to the ticket, working there. And I remember thinking around that time, if I'm going to move to Los Angeles to be in the creative field as a writer or a performer, I don't know, but I need to make the move now. And here we are 25 years later.
Turns out it was just doing the fake Jerry for 30 years. That would eventually get you.
Do fake Jerry for 30 years, then Hollywood will call you. And that was my magic formula to success. No, it was, which is a real interesting discussion of how much do you author your own life and lead your own life, and how much do you appreciate where you are, and then how much do you decide to break everything that you have right now to go and try something new? And there's no right answer to it. It's something that everyone has to face. Do you take the security, and if you have a great thing going, which the station in Dallas is a great thing, it's a dream job. Do you leave the dream job for another dream job that you're hoping to get? And I remember facing that life decision, and I looked at everything and thought that I am happy enough where I am. With my parents in town. This is my hometown. I loved our show. I loved what we were doing. And it felt very strange to me to say, that all is not good enough for me. I'm going to try to shoot for the stars and roll the dice and see if I get something better. And part of it is personality. I worry about myself. If I came out here and failed horribly, what would that do to my spirit? Does it send me spiraling into addiction, which I have leanings towards that anyway? Or if I was a success, I was also scared of success too.
Yeah.
I was scared of both things changing my life so much because I've always felt very unequipped to handle my own life. And I was afraid of throwing huge variables at it. Now, maybe if I had been a stronger, more confident person that could handle anything thrown my way, and that I was always going to end up on top of the pile that I had built, then that would be something else. But I've never felt that way. I've always felt a little bit scared of both good and bad.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people maybe have the idea of the dream job, and it may be the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or it may not be what turns out to be what their true dream really is.
Look, there's no way the career that the three of us have had in Dallas radio, there's no way that was my dream job if you would have asked me that 30 years ago. But clearly in my life, as I look over the vast wasteland that is my life, that was my dream job all along. And I never would have predicted it. I never would have chosen it. But it found me, and it kept me fat. Put food on the table, that I could overconsume.
Yeah.
But it was a dream job that I never had the dream of.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't work out for me. I think being a boat designer would have been a really boring life.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have been doing this.
And I wanted to be an astronaut, but thankfully I found my way to AM radio.
Yeah. See there?
See, it all worked out.
Falling short of your dreams is a dream come true.
Well, if we're around after our trip to California, we'll do an episode 6. How about that?
Okay.
Wow. You want to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you believe
Let's do it.
We've
I
got
dare you.
5 episodes in the books already?
No.
It seems like we've only been at this for about 4 weeks, but we've been at it for 5.
3, maybe 4.
That's incredible.
You lose all perspective of time.
See you guys next week.
Okay.
The Musers, the podcast, can be found across social media, or you can contact them via email, themuserspod@gmail.com. The Musers, the podcast is a Tired Head production.